Due to overpopulation, in the near future, people live inside a VR video game, where the only limit of reality is your imagination. You can do anything, go anywhere, be anybody. You could surf in Hawaii, skydive over the pyramids, or even climb Mount Everest with Batman. You could even visit a casino the size of an entire planet. The story begins with our protagonist, Wade, who lives inside a container stacked on top of hundreds of other containers. He escapes daily from the crowded life and hides inside his van, where, with the help of VR, he enters the world of the OASIS. It's basically an open-world game with no limits. Wade's avatar's name is Parzival. Every time he logs in, he locates his best friend, whom he has never met in real life. His friend is usually on Planet Doom, the most dangerous place in the Oasis. But Ayek usually just comes there to collect coins from eliminated players. Coins inside the Oasis are the most valuable currency in both the real and virtual worlds. But there's a problem. If you die, you lose everything. And since people basically live here, once they lose years of hard work, most of them feel the need to log out of the real world. The Oasis was created by James Halliday and his partner Ogden. They released the game in 2025, and it instantly made them the richest men on Earth. Halliday became like a god to people, they worshipped him. But in the 2040s, he died. What he left behind changed everything. Before his death, he created an Easter egg, and the first person to find it hidden somewhere inside the Oasis would inherit ownership of the Oasis, currently worth $500 billion, along with total control over it. Halliday's in-game avatar, Anorak, created 3 keys to 3 magical gates, and those who have the skill to survive the 3 challenges will reach the end, where the final prize awaits. Even though it sounds simple. It's been 5 years since the hunt for the keys began, and no one has found even a single one, and the leaderboard still remains empty. The challenge for the first key is a race designed by Halliday that is so difficult, no one has ever finished it. Most players tries to complete it solo, but over time, big companies have formed. Innovative Online Industries are the second largest company after the Oasis, with the goal of becoming the first. They even have a support team doing daily research on Halliday's life, trying to find any clue that might guide them to the final prize. The head of the company, Nolan Sorrento, is a man who cares about nothing except winning this competition. Ake always races in his monster truck, while Parzival has no fuel or money, so he starts at the back collecting coins from crashed cars while driving the vehicle from Back to the Future. Once the race through virtual New York City begins, the path is filled with traps, and most crash immediately. Ake uses the blades on his truck to destroy the ones in front of him. Parzival then notices a girl named posthumous, a famous Twitch streamer, and he's a huge fan. Minutes into the race, most racers crash into traps while Parzival collects their coins, using them to refuel his vehicle. And if giant metal balls aren't enough to destroy everyone, they soon encounter a dinosaur that devours racers in an instant. Those who somehow manage to avoid it are then confronted by none other than King Kong himself. That's the obstacle that usually stops Ake, but posthumous manages to continue. Meanwhile, Parzival, now in first place, is relentlessly chased by Kong. Just as he sees the finish line, he has to abandon the mission to avoid losing all his assets. He sees posthumous preparing to make a jump and grabs her at the last second, just as Kong catches and destroys her bike. Instead of thanking him, she sobs over her destroyed bike, so he takes her to Ake's workshop to fix it. While Ake works on the bike, posthumous blames Parzival for losing the race, and he defends himself by saying he can't afford to lose everything he's earned. She confronts him, saying the only loss would be if Nolan wins before them, becoming the new owner of the Oasis and literally taking over the world, and she can't let that happen. The next day, Parzival visits the Halliday Journals, a place that appeared the same day the contest began. There, he meets the curator, who can give him access to some of Halliday's memories. He replays a conversation between Halliday and Ogden he's already seen many times, and even knows what they're about to say next. At one point, Halliday comments that he liked the world more when the Oasis was simply a game and not a place where people spent their entire lives, just as Parzival prepares to leave. One phrase he's heard 100 times suddenly hits him differently. When Halliday asks why they can't go backwards, really fast, really put the pedal to the metal. In that moment, Wade realizes that sometimes going backwards gives you a different perspective, a bigger picture. So the next time the race begins and everyone speeds off, he goes backwards as fast as he can, straight into the wall. But instead of crashing, another path appears, a path that leads right under the race. While everyone follows the map, he's driving beneath it. Kong doesn't even acknowledge him, and just like that, he reaches the finish line. There, Anorak appears and congratulates him, giving him the first key, along with 100,000 coins. Nolan and his team are immediately curious about who Parzival is, and they're already planning a major update for the game once they win the other 2 keys. Meanwhile, Parzival starts spending his earnings buying a bunch of different items in the game, along with a new VR suit, which is immediately delivered to him in real life. At the same time, Nolan enters the VR world with his avatar Sorrento and meets with another villain, I-Rock, who gives him a very powerful artifact, the Orb of Osuvox, which creates an impenetrable magical shield that can only be taken down by a spell. Sorrento tells him to keep it quiet until the orb is needed, and orders him to remove Parzival from the leaderboard. But the next day, there are 5 people on the leaderboard. Art3mis saw him going backwards, and he told his best friend Ake how to do it. Ake told his friend Daito, and of course Daito told his best friend Sho. The next day, Parzival and Art3mis visit another one of Halliday's memories, and they learn 2 things. First, Nolan was actually working for Halliday. He started as his intern, and even more importantly, Halliday once went on a date with a woman named Kira. He took her dancing, and she later became Ogden's wife. Both of them had feelings for her, but she died. Despite that, she was mentioned only once in all of Halliday's journals. The curator doesn't believe that, so Parzival makes a bet, and the curator immediately begins his research. Parzival suggests that Halliday purposely removed all mentions of her, except that one, and that they need to find out why. The curator then admits he was wrong and gives him a very special coin. Thinking there's something there, Art3mis invites Parzival to a dance. As he's choosing his outfit, Ake advises him to calm down, reminding him that he has a massive cyber crush on Art3mis, and tells him she might be ugly or might even be a dude. But Wade ignores all of his friend's advice and goes on the date. As they begin an anti-gravitational dance, I-Rock follows him and informs the others of Parzival's whereabouts. While they dance, he can literally feel her touch through his new suit. He admits he has feelings for her and asks to meet in real life, but she politely declines, saying she doesn't look like this, and he might be disappointed. He tells her he doesn't care, and then reveals his real name. That turns out to be his biggest mistake. Almost immediately, the place is stormed by Nolan's soldiers. The 2 of them hide behind a glass shield, trying to fight them off. He takes a couple of hits and realizes the suit wasn't the best idea. As his armor starts running low, he uses the Zemeckis cube, which turns everything back 60 seconds in time. They use the opportunity to escape. Outside, Art3mis knocks him down and tells him this isn't a game, that Nolan's company killed her father, and she needs to stop them before more people suffer the consequences. At the same time, Nolan is furious that they failed to kill Parzival's avatar. But I-Rock offers him something even better: Parzival's real identity. The next time Wade prepares to enter VR, he gets a call from Nolan. When he answers, he appears as a hologram inside Nolan's office. He offers Wade $1 million a year, all the special in-game items and bonuses if he starts working for him. But Wade is focused on more important things, like remembering Nolan's password, and then simply declines the offer. Nolan reveals that he knows his real identity and everything about him. Wade immediately logs out and rushes towards his home, desperately trying to call his aunt. But the entire place blows up, almost collapsing on top of him. After informing Ake, Daito, Sho, and Art3mis that Nolan attacked him in the real world, a man appears behind him and knocks him unconscious. He wakes up somewhere else with a girl, Samantha, sitting in front of him. She admits that she is Art3mis and welcomes him to the rebellion. The 2 of them start getting to know each other, and Wade admits he's not disappointed and that she's beautiful. But just before they kiss, she's struck by an idea. While suiting up, she tells him that Halliday was madly in love with Kira, and that his biggest regret was not kissing her during their date at the movie theaters. The team quickly rushes to the curator, but he gives them thousands of movies Halliday had watched, not knowing which one contains the clue. Parzival comments that Halliday is a creator who hates his own creation, and that's when it hits him. It has to be The Shining. The team enters the house from the movie and splits up to search for the key. H ends up in a room with a naked woman who suddenly transforms into a creepy old lady. He falls into a bathtub and finds himself inside the maze from The Shining. He's chased by Jack Nicholson with an axe, and just before he's about to die, his friends pull him out. Next, they come across an image of Halliday and Kira, and Art3mis realizes that Halliday's biggest fear wasn't The Shining, it was kissing a girl. Suddenly, the creepy melody starts playing, and in the next room a group of zombies are dancing, and among them is Kira. Art3mis leaps onto one of the zombies while the rest of the group gets pulled out. She continues jumping from one zombie to another until she reaches Kira. She asks her for a dance, and suddenly everything disappears. Anorak appears once again and gives her the second key. Meanwhile, Nolan's workers inform him that both Art3mis and Parzival now have the second key. They search through surveillance cameras and spot the tattooed man who previously brought Wade to Samantha. They follow him with drones, and he unknowingly leads them straight to the warehouse. As they storm in, Samantha realizes they are after Wade. She takes him to a secret exit while staying behind to buy him time. Just as Wade steps out from behind the building, he's startled by a woman named Helen, who turns out to be his buddy, Ake. Suddenly, one of Nolan's drones spots them, but someone jumps out of a van and takes the drone down. It turns out to be Dido. They quickly get inside the van and escape at the last second. Inside, Wade also meets Sho. Meanwhile, Samantha is captured and locked inside Nolan's prison, not just in real life, but in a virtual one as well, where prisoners are forced to work using VR suits that inflict pain on them in real life. At the same time, on Planet Doom, Nolan's workers discover the challenge for the last key. It's an old video game, Atari 2600. His workers line up, trying to figure it out, but none of them can seem to win. Nolan can't risk anyone else attempting the challenge, so he orders IROC to activate the Orb of OASIS. Once activated, a magical shield surrounds the entire challenge area. Suddenly, Nolan's VR session is interrupted. Wade and Dido stand before him, demanding to know where is Artemis. As Nolan starts giving informations to Dido, Wade walks into another room. And it turns out they're actually still inside the Oasis. While Nolan believes he's back in the real world, he's actually inside an identical office that Ike built in her workshop. Using Nolan's password, they successfully hack his rig and connect directly to Artemis's audio feed. She informs them about third challenged being on Planet Doom, and that Orb of OASIS is surrounding the area. Putting that problem aside for later, Parzival looks into her cell and guides her to the lever that releases her from the VR. She tells him to quickly raise an army while she heads to Nolan's office to work on bringing down the shield. But Nolan notices the reflection of the game and realizes that none of it is actually real. He rushes out only to discover that Artemis has already escaped. She sneaks into his office, sits in his VR chair, and finds the powerful artifact, trying to figure out how to deactivate it. Meanwhile, Parzival activates the live stream, revealing to everyone who Nolan really is and what will happen if he wins the third challenge. He shows them the orb and how Nolan is playing against the rules. He reaches out to people all across the Oasis and the real world, motivating them to join him in the final battle. As Ake activates the coolest thing ever, the Iron Giant, the vibe instantly feels like Avengers. Thousands of players march toward the battlefield. Artemis blends in with Nolan's workers, enters the VR, and sends the audio drone closer to the orb. She begins reciting the magic spell she found on Nolan's computer, and just like that, the shield is destroyed. Almost immediately, the war begins. Players from all over the Oasis fight against Nolan's soldiers. Ake throws another weapon to Parzival, and it's Chucky, who immediately attacks and eliminates a bunch of soldiers. Across the city, everyone joins the fight, even kids playing as the Ninja Turtles. Realizing he's losing the battle, Nolan activates none other than a massive iron Mechagodzilla. It knocks down and overpowers Ike's Iron Giant, but then Dido joins the fight with his own secret weapon. He knocks down Mechagodzilla and takes out many of Nolan's soldiers as well, but Mechagodzilla stands up once more. Dido gives everything he has to defeat him, but his superpower artifact runs out. Mechagodzilla grabs him, and Dido zeroes out. While Parzival runs toward the final challenge, Ake jumps on Godzilla with Artemis in his hand. She throws a grenade inside Monster's eye, and Nolan's avatar Sorrento also zeroes out. IROC successfully blocks the path for Parzival and Sho, but Ake uses his Iron Giant body as a bridge for them to cross. IROC almost destroys him before they can pass. But Sho throws a shuriken, cutting off his arm, and all of his coins immediately begin spilling out. Ake falls into the lava pit as well, but not before helping his teammates. Meanwhile, in the real world, Nolan searches for Artemis. Parzival realizes Nolan is crazy and might kill her, so he begs her to forgive him just before he eliminates her avatar, causing Nolan to miss her by seconds. Parzival and Sho are surrounded, and Parzival uses his most expensive item, Holy Hand Grenade, which wipes out everyone in an instant. The two reach the final challenge, and just as Sho is about to eliminate the man playing it, Parzival stops him. The man wins the game but still loses the contest. Parzival realizes it's not about winning the game, it's about playing it. The Atari 2600 was the first console to include an Easter egg, hidden by wandering through a dark room until you find an invisible dot. But Sorrento and IROC reappear. Sorrento demands the final key and pulls out the most powerful artifact in the game, the Cataclysm, which once activated will instantly kill every avatar in the Oasis. Parzival tells him he would rather let everyone in the Oasis die than hand it over to Nolan. He kicks the artifact out of his hands, and the two begin to fight, each feeling the punches in real life as well. Realizing he's about to lose everything anyway, Nolan activates the Cataclysm. Almost instantly, every single character in the game dies. Everyone zeroes out. The Oasis is left with 0 players. The contest scoreboard is empty, until Parzival's name appears once again. Remember the very special coin the curator gave him? It turns out it was an extra life. Even though he lost everything, Parzival is still alive, the last player in the game. He wanders through the darkness for hours until he finds it, the Easter egg, revealed as the game creator's name. Suddenly, Anorak rises from the ice and grants him the final key. While Wade continues inside the game, his friends in the real world desperately try to escape Nolan's men. A magical vault appears in the Oasis, but Parzival struggles to insert the final key as their van is being rammed. Using both hands and all his focus, he finally places it into the keyhole. The doors open. Inside are millions of coins, a golden egg, and Anorak, who hands him a pen and tells him he just needs to sign the papers to claim ownership of the Oasis. But Parzival realizes that Halliday hated what his creation had become. He refuses to sign. Anorak smiles and says he just needed to be sure. Suddenly, Anorak transforms into Halliday, and they find themselves inside his childhood bedroom. Halliday shows him a button that would delete the Oasis forever. As Nolan rams the van again, Parzival almost presses it. Eventually, Nolan manages to stop their van. When he steps out, he's surrounded by thousands of civilians. He pulls out a gun, and the crowd clears a path as he walks toward Wade. Meanwhile, Halliday hands Parzival the golden egg. When Nolan opens the van and sees that Wade has already won, he gives up. The police arrives, and Nolan is arrested. Inside the game, Halliday simply thanks him for playing his game and leaves the room. As Wade removes his VR headset, Ogden arrives with a group of lawyers telling him he now needs to sign the documents. But Wade doesn't want to own it alone. He wants to share it with his team, and they will run it together. Ogden looks proud of him. It turns out Ogden had been supporting him all along. Inside the game, he was the curator. He gave him the extra life coin. He had always believed in Wade. Once claiming their ownership, Wade and his team made some changes to the Oasis. Ogden becomes their non-exclusive consultant, and they close the Oasis on Tuesdays and Thursdays, encouraging people to spend more time in the real world, and that's where the film ends. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video. Thanks for watching.